Welcome to this video where I'll show you how to get started with PHP using Dev Containers. So first you got to install Docker Desktop, or if you're on a Mac, you can install Docker Desktop or OrbStack. OrbStack is supposed to perform a little bit better than Docker Desktop. And then of course you need Visual Studio Code on your machine. Now you can go ahead and get a private repository, and this will be filled with the base that you need to get started. So go ahead and click on this link. And then you'll be here where you can select your name and you can accept the assignment. Once you've accepted the assignment, you can go to your Git repository right here. Now, if you notice, this repository has a dev container inside of it. So when you open this up in Visual Studio Code, it'll automatically launch up containers and launch up your code inside of those containers. So what you need to do is you need to need to clone this repository onto your own computer. So you can go up to here. Now, if you know about SSH keys, you can use this link right here. But if not, you probably want to use the HTTPS link. Go ahead and copy that, and then we'll paste it into Visual Studio Code and create a new project. Now, if you have Visual Studio Code open, you can go to the Source Control tab right here and clone a repository and go ahead and paste in your URL that you have from before. And then it's going to ask you where you want to save this. I usually save all my projects in the developer folder. And it's cloning that. And then it said, would you like to open the clone repository? And of course, we want to open it. And then you probably will now get told to install the Dev Containers extension. So if not, you can just go over to this extensions tab right here and search for Dev Containers. And make sure you get the one that's built by Microsoft and go ahead and install that extension. If this link didn't pop up and you have the extension installed, you can do the show all commands. So it's Shift Command P on a Windows machine, or Shift Control P, or Shift Command P on a Mac and Shift Control P on a Windows machine. And you can search a Dev Containers, and you have this command right here that says rebuild and reopen in container. You can just search for that if you can't find it, Dev Containers. And I believe there's a reopen in container command that you can click. And it's connecting to the dev container. You can kind of look at the log, make sure that you have Docker Desktop installed and that you've also logged into Docker Desktop and that it's also running. If you have any errors in this part right here, it might be that you just don't have all of that running. Now this might take a little bit of time for it to get working, but once you get to this point, then you are probably good to go. You can go ahead and hide this. And if you notice in this source directory, we have an index.php file that's already created. It has your database and user, the database user, the database password here. And I can show you where to find these values. If you click up into this dev container, there's this env file, and this has the host name of the database, the user, the password, and the database that you're going to use. And you can just use this built-in database for everything in this class. Now you can just open up a web browser and you can go to localhost 90:9080, and you should be able to see your website. And if you refresh right here, you do kind of get an error at first, but this will go away once you get your MySQL set up completely. But from here, you can develop your PHP code just as you would as you watch the other videos. And you could keep this file in place, or you can rename this file and have, after you rename this file, you can put your own file here. But I recommend keeping it around because it has some sample code on how to connect to the database. Now, not for your first project, but eventually you're going to have to be able to create a database table. And it already has one database table that it's created, and it's actually, this is the code that created it. It's like a guest book table, but you're going to need to create a users table. To be able to do that, you can click on this database, after you click on this, it'll probably ask you to create a new connection. It will pull up this page, and we just need to fill in these fields with our host, our username, and our password. Now you can find those again in this environment folder. Our host name is MySQLDB. Our username and our password is applesauce. If you want, you can edit these, and then you'll have to rebuild your containers again, or at least close it and reopen it to pick up that change, or you just might as well leave it the same. It doesn't matter. People can't connect from outside, so you don't have to worry too much about this password. So you can go ahead and put in your database host, and then of course the username, the password, and the database. And again, I just copied those directly from this file. The password is applesauce, and then you can go ahead and connect. And once you're connected, you can go ahead in your database and you can see your tables right here. And this is the default guestbook table that's been created. So now that we've done this, when we go back to our web page, we'll actually see that information on our web page. So we got our database connection working. So now that we have our database connection working, we can create our users table. Now I got to this page by going to here, and I clicked the plus on the table and it gave me this. And I changed the information to create the users table like we need. We have an ID field, a name, an email, and a hash password. Make sure you spell all of these right. We also have that the ID can't be nil, and that it's going to be our primary key and auto increment. And also the email will be unique. And when you got all of that right, you can click the run button. And once you click the run button, you can see that now we have the users table exactly how we need it. Now from there, all you need to do is go to your source folder. And again, you can rename this to move it out of the way. You can work on your projects. When you get to the database, this is the code that you'll need to use to be able to create your database connection.